Hello, welcome to our CXO interview series, The Journey to Digital First, a quarterly series where we bring together like-minded leaders to share their experiences as they progress through their continuous digital first journey. I'm Allison Breeding, Apptio's EVP of Marketing, and I'm very excited to be here today with Shawn Purvis, the Corporate Vice President and President of Northrop Grumman Enterprise Services. Welcome, Shawn. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Allison. It's very exciting to be here.
So excited to get started. We have some exciting topics to cover. So let's dig in. So I'd love to hear just from you. Give us a high-level overview of your organization and your roles and responsibilities.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. So at Northrop Grumman, I run the enterprise services sector, and our organization is combined of the statement of work for the Chief Information Officer role, the classic CIO role, the Chief Information Security Officer role, so the CISO role, the security and cyber of the company, as well as our industrial security, physical security, and operations and international exposure. So what does all of that mean? Really, we are in charge of corporate technology and the design of the corporate technology and strategy for Northrop Grumman. I like to say we have two halves of our organization. One piece of that are in support of all of our 90,000 plus employees, both in the United States, but also in our international companies and countries. We support their infrastructure, their technology, their day-to-day needs from the time they start on onboarding through Northrop Grumman. The very first action they have is a representation or interaction with an enterprise service system or application throughout their life cycle at Northrop as an employee, and then into their retirement. So we kind of got to say from sunrise to sunset, we support each of our employees. We also support all of our programs, and we help with the infrastructure, the stand up of our program architectures, both classified and unclassified, and the connection of our suppliers into our big programs. And then we provide cybersecurity for all of Northrop Grumman, both from the domestic perspective in the United States, but also in our international, on our programs and our infrastructure and across our employees. I'd like to say also that one other piece that's unique about our organization is we also do tremendous amount of support just for the everyday employee. We have in charge of our crisis management organization looks at areas where it'd be a hurricane or a threat and our employees need additional assistance. They need, whether it be technology or actually simply supplies and resources, or in some cases where they may need to be moved out of a particular country. We also support them in each and everything that they do there as well.
Oh my gosh, that has to be so rewarding to have that element and that aspect of what is already a very exciting role.
There's never a dull day.
I bet.
That's very true.
I bet. So I know that you all are well on your way in your digital transformation journey. Can you just talk to us about how you got started?
Yeah, that's great. You know, one of the things I think it's so important when you talk about digital transformation is really to define what is digital transformation. It has morphed and taken on its own life and definition over the last few years. And for us, we started with digital transformation, I think as a classic CIO would take a look at that and think about technology and how do you automate, how do you migrate to the cloud, how do you bring in agility, how do you add workflows that really enhance the everyday employee. And we have grown in maturity to think about it's not just technology, it's actually business process reengineering. It's the function and the programs and the core support system that really has to work hand in hand with the technology that we're releasing in order for digital transformation to take hold at scale and at an enterprise level. So at Northrop Grumman, we partner with the business. We also partner with our functional peers and partners. So think HR, finance, business management, but also in our engineering, manufacturing, and supply chain domains. We look at how can we help re-engineer and take out inefficiencies in the processes that they may have, empower and create operational efficiency in each of those organizations, and then use technology as a partner to really differentiate across the board in those organizations. For us, it's about how do we get speed to market? How do we bring together parts of the organization that right now, whether it be physical separation or technology separation, are not connected? So that collaboration capability through digital transformation to create the next generation sensor or platform or advanced technology solution for our customers are really what we're working on right now at a scale, at a whole for the company.
Great, great. So what do you see as the critical enablers for digital transformation to help you along those journey and with that, those key initiatives?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. From a technology perspective, I would say some of the core foundations, such as cloud and the move to the cloud, which gives you that elasticity and gives you the ability to really move at speed that our programs and our customers are asking to. That's been a key foundation that we've established at the beginning of last year, and we continue to work that through this year. But I would also say it's this kind of fiercely curious, customer obsessed mentality that we have in enterprise services that looks at what's the employee experience like and how do we bring more of that commercial outside in experience into your day-to-day job? How do we get power of self empowerment down into the employees? How do we maximize our technology, our investment, so that we're doing it maybe in one site, but then we lift it and share it across the whole of the company, and we really can maximize one investment for the bigger investment across the whole. I would also say to you, it's a mindset shift. Well, it was interesting is even as we started this journey in enterprise services, which is very technology driven in all that we do, many of our members ask, well, where do I fit in digital transformation? And we've really worked over the last several years to think about it's not just technology, it's not just cloud. If you don't transform your operations, if you don't transform your services, if you don't transform service delivery in the way that your customers really embrace and use that technology that you're delivering, but also creation of those processes and the automation of your platform, and honestly, actually the simplicity of the digital landscape users, then you have great technology, but you don't necessarily have it married with the process or the efficiencies and the business outcomes that you're really trying to enable for your employees. So I think one of the biggest imperatives is to understand the strategic need of the business, understand the digital landscape of your employee population. What we've learned is that not one size fits all. And some users that love to do things themselves. They love the self-empowerment. There are others that just need to have the speed at which to do their program and have that environment be up and running, right, consistently from site to site. And that mindset shift of everyone is in charge of digital transformation. Whether you own technology, whether you own a service, whether you're the first person who answers the help desk, or whether you're in supply chain or business management or human resources, digital transformation really looks at how can I improve and enable this process and the experience of those end users that are receiving that process or service.
That's great. I love the notion of bringing every employee on board, to be part of the transformation. Great. So I'm just going to shift gears to some questions more focused on, the now and the future. So would love to get your thoughts on just how to shift the conversation from, being very focused on cost cutting and cost savings to actually driving business value.
It's a great question, Allison. When I started this organization, we had a lot of conversation around cutting costs. And I think those in the CIO role understand that better than anyone else, and trying to understand each year, how do you ensure that you are cutting costs and you're meeting the cost objectives set by organization. As you shift and you think about the partnership needed of the CIO organization with the business, it's really important that we look at not just the cost cutting component, but the value creation that technology and the partnership with the business can do with technology and the organizations of the CIO position. And so what I mean by that is we really took on a specific initiative to look at what's the return on investment of our capability. In some cases, there was a dollar return on investment. If you think about cloud proper helps you reduce that physical infrastructure and some of the cost of storage and cost of infrastructure that comes with storing tremendous amounts of data. But when you really look at the power of something such as cloud, it unlocks the ability to really move data to where your employees need them to move to. It allows you to stand up infrastructure very quickly and also burn it down very quickly. So you're not carrying kind of all of that technical debt. It allows us to connect programs from coast to coast, from suppliers, large and small, right, and all in between, and allows us actually to really reach in and talk with our government customers and our peers in a manner that we simply couldn't do before. That's very powerful for a company that wants to move at speed and really change and create technical differentiation into the market. I think when you think about our role as it pertains to a business partner in companies, in the CIO role, I truly believe is a business partner with the organization. It's imperative that we understand the strategy of our organization, of not only our corporate office, but also those programs and what they need in order to move into the market. It's imperative that we understand the requirements and the expectations of our big C customers. We talk for Northrop Grumman, it's most of our government customers, and how they are expecting us to deliver our platforms. And when you can combine those two with technology and the creation of technology solutions that'll enable you to really have go to market different, have technical differentiation in the market, that to me is where you get out of the conversation of just cutting costs and into the conversation of truly creating value for your company.
I love that. I love that. And then just to kind of double click on that a little bit, how do you connect the work that your team is doing specifically to the broader corporate strategies and initiatives going on at Northrop Grumman?
Right. We've worked really hard to ensure that, number one, our entire activity is really framed with a strategic framework. And what I mean by that is we don't come in and do technology for technology's sake. There's so much technology out there. There's so many different, really great, unique applications and systems, and all of them have value in their own right. But if you don't start with strategy, if you don't really look, and to me, strategy is the design of the business outcome that you're trying to enable. And so when we look at enabling collaboration or improving the employee experience, or as standing up, reducing the stand-up time for a program, and the interaction and the connectivity, with secure interaction and connectivity to our supply chain and our subs, it requires you to think about what's that business outcome that I'm trying to enable. And we start with the business outcome. That business outcome is really informed by the business partnership, our program managers, and for in Northrop Grumman's organization, it's our divisions and our sectors and our program managers, and what they need in order to be successful in the delivery of their capability to the customer. When you understand then that business outcome and what we're trying to enable, you can kind of walk your way back to, all right, well, given our current environment, what's the gap that's in between, right? And so if I know where I am and I know where I want to go, then that strategy allows you to create the technology roadmap to really move you forward and move the company forward along those lines. So one of the things I think that's so important for technologists and for those of us who love technology, we are really focused on ensuring that we don't increase technical debt. And debt to me is where you bring in the next new great application. It does maybe one piece or one component of the overall goal, and then it's just sitting there, right? It hasn't really reduced infrastructure or reduced the other technology, hasn't necessarily improved the processes or changed the employee experience, but it does one simple thing. You keep doing that over and over, and that's how I think you have these environments that have 60, 70 terabytes of data and 4,000 applications, and they're not integrated and they don't work in sync with each other. So we have this concept called digital simplicity, and I love the idea of digital simplicity, because digital simplicity to me means that as a user, you come in and that ecosystem is very simple. It's intuitive. The data is where you need it to be. So whether I'm in my home office, whether I'm at my corporate office, whether I'm in a remote location, I have access to the same environment and the same data that I need to do my job. Behind the scenes, we are the ones who are integrating those systems, making sure that the source of truth is sound, but that the data moves and connects and is enabled through things like artificial intelligence or machine language that really allows us to have the power and the speed of those environments wherever you may be to do and able to do your work.
Excellent. So, given the importance of making sure that you're driving, alignment to the business and, the strategy of the corporation, how have you, knowing you've got several CIOs on your team, how have you seen the evolution of the CIO and CFO relationship to the business leaders? How have you seen that change over time, and do you foresee that continuing to change?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a great question. When you think about the CIO and CFO, right, who really have a joint mission, which is to invest the dollars of the company in the most effective way, right, to really add value for an organization. I think for us, what we have really worked on is a couple of things. One is cost transparency, really pulling together and breaking down where that dollar goes and how that dollar gets spent. What systems, applications, what servers, what's the people component to it? How are we spending the use of that dollar? I think it's important that it's not just one big box, goes in and then it comes out and no one really knows exactly where that spend is. The second we've worked on is that strategy that I've just talked about. We share that strategy with everyone. And in particular, we share that strategy with the CFO that talks a bit about the environment that we're in today and how much it actually costs to have customized systems, to have legacy systems, to have unique systems that may be out of end of life where you're continuing to pay for that end of life, very exquisite, right? Becoming very exquisite, very expensive technologies that we have. And then we talk about how the power of using platforms and systems and organizations and applications where the platform companies, they're investing in the multiple different kinds of services, and where we can benefit from that, try to reduce the customization and really unlock and unleash all of the power of Northrop. It brings down costs and it totally increases the experience and the value and the opportunity for our employees to really maximize the use of that platform. And so we've worked in partnership with our CFO to turn our CFOs into CIOs, and our CFO works to turn our CIOs into CFOs, right? So that we understand why we're spending the dollar and what we're spending in. And then I would say to you, the third part is accountability. So when we make an investment, we understand what that investment's trying to drive. And if that investment is trying to drive efficiencies, whether it be in the spend or in the program or in our organization, we really try to make sure that we roll those efficiencies into the plan for next year. And that's a piece that we've been able to show that with the same dollar we spent, let's say 5 years ago, we can take that dollar today and we can maximize it in multiple ways and get it back to the company. I think it's the partnership. I think it's the discussion, not just on the dollar and not just on the spreadsheet, but on the reasons why, on the strategy and the vision that you have for an organization that really continues to bring you tighter aligned with your CFO and your CIO community.
So thank you so much, Shawn. What amazing insights and wonderful things your team is accomplishing at Northrop Grumman. And I think people are really going to enjoy hearing your story. So appreciate you spending this time with us today.
Thank you, Allison. I appreciate the opportunity to just share a bit about the journey of our CIO organization and enterprise services and how we continue to embrace transforming Northrop Grumman.